All right, so this video is going to cover Chapter 5 of Advanced Vocabulary Skills. Um, go ahead and get your book out. I don't actually have mine with me, unfortunately, um, but uh, but I encourage you to follow along. But let me go ahead and read through these ones, and you can take a guess as to the parts of speech. So our first one is equivocate, and there's a clue there. 8. Fortuitous. There's a clue there, O-U-S. Impeccable, A-B-L-E is a clue. Liaison, no clue. Predisposed, don't don't treat the ed at the end as a clue. That it's not a verb. Propensity, reprehensible, the I-B-L-E is a clue. Sham, solace, and solicitous, the O-U-S is a clue there at the end. All right, so our first word here is equivocate, and it ends in that 8 sound, making it a verb. Bob can't get his boss to say whether or not he intends to give him a raise. When Bob asks him, he equivocates, saying, "You've been doing good work, Bob." Linnell doesn't want to come right out and tell Tiffany he doesn't love her. If she asks, he equivocates by telling her something like, "You know how I feel." So in this case, equivocate means to be unclear. And if you think about it, it sounds a lot like our definition before of ambiguous, right? But the difference here is equivocate is a verb, and ambiguous is an adjective. But there is a lot of similarity between it. If you look at the word equivocate, it sort of begins with like equal or equi, and it does have a similar meaning to that, equivocate. To equivocate sort of means that you're answering in a way that's unclear, but it's unclear because it sounds like you're saying both two things at the same time. So in that way, it's similar to being ambiguous, in that you're unclear because it's possible that from what you're saying for me to believe one or more things. Both of them seem like they're possible to be true. Oftentimes, to equivocate is also connected with being dishonest. Basically, you know the answer, but you're intentionally not being clear about the answer. You're not committing yourself to one answer or another. So in the second one, in the first example, it says, "You've been doing good work, Bob." So on one hand, you could interpret that and be like, "Oh, I've been doing good work. Okay, that means I am going to get a raise." But it seems like the boss doesn't want to make a commitment to say either yes or no. So he doesn't want to disappoint Bob by saying, "Well, I can't give you any more money," but at the same time, he doesn't want to give him more money. So you can see that that can be interpreted two ways. In the second example, he's equivocating. Um, uh, he's equivocating. In this case, it's clear he doesn't love her, but he doesn't want to tell her that. So he's just being vague, or he's being unclear, or he's being ambiguous, so as not to tell the truth. Our next word here is fortuitous, and this one is ending in a IUS, and making it an adjective. The birth of triplets wasn't entirely fortuitous. The mother had taken a fertility drug, which often causes multiple births. It was strictly fortuitous that Vince found his missing class notes. They happened to drop out of his dictionary when it fell on the floor. So in this case, it's accidental, but that doesn't completely capture the meaning of it. If you look at fortuitous, it sort of reminds you of the word fortune, right? Or fortunate is actually probably a better way. If you say that you're fortunate, it means that you're lucky, right? Like something good has happened to you. So for fortuitous does means that does mean accidental, but it means an accidental good thing. Um, that, something good that happened, something that happened by accident rather than by plan, but it tends to have a meaning of that it's a good thing that happened accidentally. So the first one is a little bit unclear. It says it wasn't entirely fortuitous, that it wasn't entirely accidental that this woman had triplets or three babies at the same time, um, because it wasn't completely an accident. It wasn't just a happy accident. It was planned, or it was affected by the fact that she was taking a fertility drug. Um, in the second example, it's saying it's fortuitous. It's just accidental and lucky that he found his notes. He wasn't planning on it. It just happened by chance. All right, moving on. Our next word here is impeccable. And impeccable is an adjective, and it has the able after it, which means able to. And we're not really going to be able to use that to help us understand the meaning of it, but it does at least identify it as a adjective. So my aunt always looks stylish, but never overdressed. Her taste in clothes is impeccable. When she auditioned for the play, Julie gave an impeccable performance. She read the lines perfectly and got the part. What impeccable means is flawless, and by flawless it means there's nothing wrong with it. A flaw means an error or an imperfection. So something that is impeccable means that it doesn't have anything wrong with it. So in the picture it says, the sailors are dressed impeccably, right? That their uniforms are completely clean, that they're in the right place, that there's nothing out of place. I don't know if this is going to help you, and it may take a little while to explain, but let me tell you how I remember this word. There's a phrase in English called henpecked. Henpecked. So if you're henpecked, normally it talks about a man, or oftentimes it's a man whose wife is always picking on him, right? And we say henpecked because a hen is a female chicken, and to peck, when a chicken can't really bite, but they can sort of stab you with their beaks, and that's called pecking. So henpeck means that the wife is kind of always like stabbing the guy with her words or complaining about them. So when I think about impeccable, and again, I may be going a long way for this, but I mean is like you're someone who's to describe something as impeccable means that it can't be criticized because it's perfect, right? It can't be pecked because it's perfect. So another way to think about it, when we're talking about, we're really using this to talk about people's behavior or their performance or their appearance, means that they meet up with the highest possible standard. Maybe they're not perfect. We already said nobody's infallible. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's the best that you could possibly hope for. Our next word here is liaison. And this one actually is a word from French. So if there's anybody who speaks French, you got an advantage on this one. And it's a noun. The president of the student council acts as a liaison between the students and the administration. Because she's bilingual, Elena often serves as a liaison between the Spanish and English-speaking personnel in her office. The liaison is a link. So another way of thinking of a liaison is it means like sort of the go-between people. It's a person. A liaison is a person who is a representative. Well, there's two things you can look at it as. A liaison can be a representative. So in the first example, the president of the student council is a liaison between the students and the administration. So all of the students can't go talk to the principals and the administration. So the president of the student council acts as a representative for everybody. Um, so that's one meaning of it. The second meaning of it is a liaison can be someone who is helping two groups who don't really understand each other to communicate with each other. In the second example, we have with actual language, right? That some people speak Spanish and some people speak English only. So Elena is the liaison. She goes between the two of them. Another definition here is communication or cooperation that facilitates a close working relationship between people or organizations. So, you know, a person who has a liaison is the person who helps helps improve the working relationship between two different groups. Our next word here is predisposed, and this one is an adjective. Terry didn't want to move in the first place, so she was predisposed to hate the new apartment. As a Brad Pitt fan, I'm predisposed to enjoy any movie he stars in. Predisposed means likely. If we take a look at this word, predisposed, we have the word part pre, which when it comes as a prefix, it means before. So predisposed, if you're predisposed to something, it means that even before that thing happens, you are likely to believe or do or get something. If something is sorry, let me look at this one. In the first example, if you don't want to move, when you move to that new place, you're even before you get there, you're going to have a negative feeling towards it. So you're predisposed to dislike something even before it happens. In the second one, you know, if you like a certain actor, so in this case Brad Pitt, if you know that there's a movie with Brad Pitt in it, you're going to be like, oh, I think I'm going to like that movie. Even before you've actually seen it, you have a natural inclination to have a positive feeling about something. Our next word here is propensity, and this one is a noun. Because Ivan has a propensity to gain weight, he watches what he eats. Cheryl is aware of her propensity to blab, so she warns her friends not to tell her anything they wouldn't want repeated. So what propensity means is an inclination. Now, if we look at the word propensity, it's followed by the preposition to, and after that is a verb. So what propensity means is that you are likely to do something. So this one actually matches up a little bit with predisposed, but it is different. So predisposed means that you're likely. Predisposed normally is talking about an opinion or a feeling or an emotion that you're predisposed to. So if you're predisposed to, like the example with Brad Pitt, if you like Brad Pitt, you're predisposed to like movies that he's in. If you hate something, if you hate moving, you're predisposed to dislike the place that you're going to. But propensity is different than that. A propensity has more of an issue of what you are likely to do. So in the first example, if you have a propensity to gain weight, it means that you're likely to gain weight. You're more likely to gain weight than not gain weight. In the second one, it says the woman has a propensity to blab. Blab means like to gossip. So she is more likely to gossip and tell people about things than not. So those are similar, but not the same. Our next word here is reprehensible, and this one is an adjective. The Riordans never discipline their sons, no matter how reprehensible his behavior is. They just say, kids will be kids. The company's failure to clean up the oil spill was reprehensible and drew harsh criticism. What reprehensible means is shameful. Um, but it's actually more, it's worse than that. Reprehensible means horrible. It means that you're doing something that you really should be berated for, that you should be scolded for, that you should be ashamed of. So to describe something as reprehensible means that whatever the behavior is or the thing that you've done, there's no way that anyone of any sort of decent standards would think that doing that thing was okay. So for example, stealing from a blind person is reprehensible. Stealing is bad, and you might say that stealing in general is reprehensible, but really, or we'd say, taking candy from a baby is reprehensible. It's a kind of action that nobody is going to be like, yeah, I mean, you wanted the candy, I guess it's okay. So reprehensible means it means shameful, but really something very, very horrible. Our next word here is sham. Karen's apartment, and it's a noun. Karen's apparent affection for Raul is a sham. He's rich, and she cares only about his money. When the city inspectors came, the restaurant kitchen was sparkling. However, such cleanliness was a sham. Pardon me. The place is usually filthy. So what a sham is means it's something that's false. But it's more than that. It's something that's intentionally false. A sham means that someone is acting or behaving in some way with the intention of deceiving other people. Maybe maybe because they want something from that person, or maybe they need to cover up something. So in the first case, the woman Karen, her affection, her love for Raul, it isn't real. She's only after his money, right? So she's being dishonest, intentionally dishonest, with the hope of getting his money. In the second one, it's saying that the kitchen was sparkling. It was completely clean, but that was a sham because the inspectors were coming, so they wanted to fool the inspectors. They didn't want to get closed down, so they cleaned it up just for that time. But the reality is that that's not true. That's not how it normally is. Okay, so don't think about this as uh, something that's false can be something that's wrong. So, for example, you can say, uh, if I said to you, I can lift 200 pounds. I can bench press 200 pounds or something with that with my arms. I know you're going to have a hard time believing this, but that is actually false. I can't do that. But I wouldn't say it's a sham. A sham would be for me to try to trick you into believing that I could lift 200 pounds. Okay, so a sham is not just that it's false, but it's intentionally false with the intention of tricking or deceiving someone to gain some kind of benefit. Our next word here is solace, and this one's also a noun. After a family quarrel, Tamara finds solace in the privacy and quiet of her room. Whenever I'm upset and need solace, I call my friend Lisa. Talking to her always makes me feel better. So what solace is relief. Solace is normally used for oftentimes it's used for like emotional relief or emotional comfort. So a lot of us find solace in our parents. Some of us don't. um, uh, I mean, for me, anyway, I know, let me not talk about myself. I'll talk about my wife. I know that with my wife, if she's feeling bad, the last person she wants to talk to is her mom. But I know a lot of people do find solace in their parents in that if they're feeling really bad, going and talking to your mother, um, or your father in some cases can make you feel a lot better and make you feel relief from some sort of emotional pain. Now, you don't just necessarily have to find solace from a person. You can find solace in bad things. So sometimes, if you're feeling bad, you can eat a gallon of ice cream, and that takes away your pain. But it's going to cause a different kind of pain for you later. People also find solace in drugs, or alcohol. It's a relief. It's taking away one. It's taking away a pain. But that's what we mean by solace, is that it's removing an emotional pain rather than a physical pain. It's giving you relief from stress or upsetness or worry or any of those kind of things. Our last word here is solicitous, and this one is an adjective. The waiter was overly solicitous. He kept interrupting our conversation to ask, "Is everything all right here?" Solicitous towards her elderly neighbor, Marie calls her every day to see how he's feeling and if he needs anything. Solicitous means attentive. But be careful about this word. Solicitous tends to have a somewhat negative connotation. Some of you may know the word solicitor. Some of you may have signs on your doors that say no soliciting. For those of you who don't know what that means, someone who's a solicitor is someone who is trying to sell you something. So you may see this on some people's doors where it says no soliciting, which means that if anybody is coming around knocking on the door trying to sell things, the person's saying, "Don't come to my house. I don't want you trying to sell me something." So when we talk about someone being solicitous, it means that they're being attentive, but it often has the additional connotation or added meaning that the reason that they're being attentive is because they want something from you. Right. So and that's where I disagree with the two sentences here. The first one I think works out with that meaning. If the waiter was so solicitous, what's the waiter looking for? Probably a big tip. That's the reason that he's asking. In the second one, you know, in that case, the person's being solicitous, but they don't want anything, so it doesn't really fit into the definition that I'm giving you. Um, but but be careful about using that word for in positive ways, because it does have that sort of negative connotation that you're being solicitous because you want something. You're being attentive because you want something. Okay? All right. So go ahead and do the online activities. We're going to talk about these words in class, and bring any additional questions that you have. All right. Take care. Bye.